We got it. Look at that, bro. It actually went. I don't know what the first one was. But we're good. I yield, bro. It's long.
Like a last minute glitch. But
I don't know what that was, but we're good. Let's do it.
These are peaceful greetings. Happy Moon Day, happy Monday to ye all. Brother Shonali L. You already know that all is well. And bro, could you help me out? Could you help a good brother out? What was that appellation, bro?
Whoa. Let's get it.
All right. Thank you for joining us another Intuition Monday. But before we get into that, I'm here with my wrong way, my bro, and he is.
Peace and greetings to y'all. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Brother Hassan Ghazi Obey here in Morocco at northwest of Mexham. How are you? Welcome to our Intuition Monday, where we go over Calvin Cordozar, Snoop Dogg Broadus's chart today, right? I yield the floor to you, bro. Islam.
Indeed, and yeah, we're just gonna dive right on into it. So, let me hit the screen share. Where's it at? Boom. Got that right there. Let me minimize there. Set us right there. How does it do that? And we're just gonna get right on into it. So for Calvin Broadus, or I guess publicly known as Snoop Dogg, right? SNDOP, DOGG, right? But
SNOOP,
DOGG.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, let's get going. So I guess, of course, the first thing, to really look at is the set, right? And as we can see, the sun had just set. So we're looking at a nighttime chart, at a nocturnal chart.
Yep.
All right, so we'll be looking for Moon, Venus, and Mars, and as Saturn being the most malefic, right? So where's Moon at? All right, Moon's 15 degrees, 50 minutes Scorpio, just 50 minutes out of that Via Combustor. All right, and Moon is also in, water sign as well, so that looks really good. Venus is a little detriment, right? Being in Scorpio, as she rather prefers to be either in, Taurus or Libra for our natural ruled houses, or she's exalted in Pisces. So it's a little detrimental energy, but it's some accidental dignity because Venus naturally rules the 7th. So some good give and take there. And looking at Mars is right here in the 11th house, 22 degrees, 1 minute Aquarius. Some of our astro colleagues would, have a ball with seeing that 22 degree mark. If I'm correct, that is the kill or be killed, or a very Saturnian degree. We look for Saturn. Let's see, where is Saturn? Saturn's in Gemini, right here at 5 degrees, 37 minutes. So also interesting, below the horizon, and the SEC team is actually above that horizon. So very interesting. All right. For that sect, let's see. Yeah, and we look at the sun here, 26 degrees Libra, Cancerian degree. And which, interesting enough, when one looks at get that out of the way, the degrees of that, it's the degree of detectives. So I wonder if someone, and maybe if it wasn't in his immediate, living situation, non-statutory home, maybe it was someone's job. Maybe one of his family members or his father might have wanted to be a detective or in the police force of some sort. All right. And also looking at this as well, he was manifested after a new moon. All right, let's see, 26. Yeah, definitely after that new moon phase. So what seems to be as a fresh start, but with that Saturn retrograde, it gives me this might be, the lifetime to actually, get it together, or it'll be another sequence of, repeating cycles. And with Saturn at 5 degrees Gemini, which is a Leonian degree, but it's also a degree of what was that? Let me see. Of quiet fortunes. And it's in the second house. So he might experience some early delays when it pertained to finances in his early childhood. But for some reason I get as well, he might have always kind of had little things happen. Maybe a family member or someone or a good friend of his gifted him some things. Little quiet things like, here you go, man, like an uncle. I see it now, like, here you go, man, I got a little $20 for you, man. With that energy, all right, let's see. And what's interesting as well, with that moon being at 15 degrees Scorpio is the regeneration point. It is the ego point. So that's also very interesting as well. It's really this whole chart, if it is the actual chart, is also very interesting, right? So then if we look at, let's see, Jupiter is definitely dominant in Sagittarius at home at 6 degrees, a very Virgoan service degree. And Venus is in that opposite house. So yeah, he might have felt powerful. A lot of finances or relationships came through either his relationships or just his partnerships with others when it came to doing business or just working with others. Ascendant 0 degrees Taurus is truest in its most expression. A new beginning, and then the Libra axis is definitely intercepted with that Virgo there in the 6th house. So he would have to work with Mercury, but Mercury is also there in Scorpio as well. So definitely there's a Scorpio stellium. And when they say 3 or more planets in one sign, but also a Libra stellium. We got Libra, Sun and Libra right there, Uranus and Libra, and also Pluto and Libra as well. So stelliums in the houses pertaining to service and partnerships is definitely meant to give back or to assist others or do some kind of beauty in a certain way. And with Mercury ruling from the 7th over the 2nd and 3rd house pertaining to material possessions and communications, and at a Leonian degree as well, same as that Saturn. See, that's also it's another in conjunct as well, or quincunx as well. So maybe some challenging areas when it came to his personal finances and others. Either he might have gave too much, or others tried to take from him of some sort. And with that Venus being conjunct, that's hopefully I'm saying that correct. A crux, hopefully I'm saying that right. A crux, which is the brightest star in the Southern Cross, Alpha, right? It's ceremonial, benevolent, mystic. So yeah, maybe Snoop Dogg like to keep a certain mysterious sense about him, or things that wasn't spoken or unheard of, that you really actually had to know him to even know some kind of certain facts about Snoop Dogg. All right. Ooh, what's also interesting as well is that Chiron part of fortune conjunction. Chiron's at 10 degrees, part of fortune's at 11 degrees. And that's in the 12th house. So when it came to like his health, he might have had a lot of, either been prone to head injuries or man, I wonder if he maybe even had like some kind of surgery for his head when he was young, is what pops up. So maybe when we check that, maybe some kind of experience with a headache or some kind of head injury. Let's see. Scorpio. And he had his Mars too in the astrological area in the 11th. So I wonder, well, I'm pretty sure now, I wonder if Snoop Dogg was into either astrology or some kind of occult knowledge while he was young, or maybe he was just introduced to it by a good friend of his or a good friend of a friend. We look at the career. Being, ruled by Saturn, the midheaven, the medium quelli, or Chelly, as some would say, with a 19-degree midheaven, and Saturn being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses away. Yeah, definitely when it comes to, the writing makes sense. So, maybe Snoop Dogg's even shy at an early age. Maybe he didn't want to be a rapper, is what I'm getting to. Maybe he wanted to do something else, but found his own groove and just writing and communicating and being social and being chatty with others. Yeah. Not good for that, bro. You want to go in on anything?
I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just, you're spot on, man, with the sect. So you already know it's a nocturnal chart. It's interesting too. I think let's see, who is in highs, actually, like things that are in the chart that are placed pretty well, actually. You know what I mean? And I think it's the moon is in highs because it's a nocturnal planet within a nocturnal chart because the sun is below the horizon, nocturnally placed because it's on the horizon opposite of where the sun is, and it's in a nocturnal sign. It's in Scorpio, right? So the moon is in highs. Mercury is in highs also because Mercury is taking on, the nocturnal team for being the strongest. It's in a nocturnal chart, nocturnally placed in the nocturnal sign. And then also Venus, which Venus seems to not have so much dignity here, which is kind of interesting because I thought it had some kind of dignity, just a little bit. You know what I mean? Maybe even, because it's in a sign that it would be said to be out of place. Venus would feel more in place, obviously in Taurus. However, she has some accidental dignity also with being in the 7th house. She's the second triplicity ruler. Since this is a nocturnal chart, the triplicity rulers for this particular nocturnal chart for water signs is firstly Mars, then Venus, then Moon. Right. And it's interesting because if we were to analyze different areas of his life, first of all, let's just pay attention to that Mars, right? Since we're talking about the nocturnal team being Mars, Venus, and Moon, right? Mars is ruling not only the 7th house cusp, it's also ruling in a whole sign chart. If we had one, would be the 12th whole sign house. However, it is co-ruling, so to speak, when we're looking at this Placidus chart, along with Jupiter and Neptune. So his 12th house, which is very interesting because I want to point out something. We all know that Snoop Dogg is huge on consuming, right? Which is his sun is very close to the consumption degree in Libra, which is 27 degrees, even though 26 degrees is detectives, right? And it's interesting how he's probably had his run-in with what we've seen that's been publicized with detectives. He's probably had a bit of a run-in with detectives. However, consumption is just 1 minute away, right? And consuming cannabis. It's just kind of interesting to see with a loaded rulership in this Placidus wheel pertaining to Jupiter, Neptune, and Mars. Mars is, the activity planet. It's at 22 degrees, so it's like a Capricorn degree, right? So it's really at this portion of, some astrologers will call 22 degrees kill or be killed. However, we can also look at it as being constructive and or destructive, if we wanted to use better terms. Ruling over the 7th house, as well as, and it's interesting because it's ruling over the 7th house, which means it has dispositorship over that Neptune that's assisting in co-ruling with Jupiter and Mars for the 12th house. So it kind of just speaks to someone who's going to be always every day, sixth house, their everyday activity, everyday routine, sixth house, with some form of consumption, which is interesting. Even though the sixth house does have also Pluto there, which is dealing with transformation, degeneration, regeneration, right? Being the fullness of Libra, obviously, as far as balance, maybe dealing with some transformations, dealing with justice somewhere. I mean, it's why you got songs like Murder Was the Case that they gave me, like being probably one of those Pluto in the sixth house type of energies where there was this transformation pertaining to law and things of that nature, which added to his everyday work pertaining to music and the public image that he has, right? Uranus being there at the Taurus degree, very interesting. 14 degrees would be Taurus degree, while in Libra, right? So it's letting us know that there's these means of maybe pouring out some things that appear to be beautiful and poetic, which may actually speak to the electronic presentation that we're knowing him for, which is music, right? Because music is poetry, right? Recorded on electronics, termed microphones, mixing boards, right? Reel to reels, right? So with that being said, we were all able to, hear that through electronic transmission, radio, see that through electronic transmission, television, right? And with the sun being there pertaining to his ego and personality, just setting, right? It kind of just also gives me, this whole, just staying, below ground, but still really close. And what I mean by below ground is like, being seen but not causing too much of a ruckus, because let's be real, sun is in its fall sign, right, where it may have to continue to work no matter what. And it's interesting to see that even though Snoop Dogg is approaching 52, right, he's approaching 52, which would be a fifth house perfection. He's completing a fourth house perfection right now, being 51. It would just it would kind of be evident to see why it's like, man, he's really had some longevity. We've seen Snoop Dogg since the early 90s, and now we're seeing him now still. And that could be like the beauty in having a planet in fall, especially the sun. It could make one just have to always do or be someone that continuously works. But I think also it speaks to also, if we were to look at that Saturn right there at 5 degrees, which is the most malefic planet in this nocturnal chart, ruling over that Mars, right? Dispositing for that Mars, traditionally speaking, while Uranus has that Mercury, which, let's just look at it again. Mars is dispositing for that Mercury, which is basically having say-so over that Pluto, Uranus, and Sun, and Uranus being the contemporary co-ruler for Aquarius. They're also at 14 degrees. Let's pay attention to that. It just really goes to show that, there's this bit of a neutralization for negativity possibly in his life due to the fact that he's able to not only use his own personal values, but the values of others and his peer group to be able to maybe find a means to assimilate new knowledge within his own life. So I think that Saturn in the second house, if I was to arc that, it really lets me know, let's just say we conversely arced Saturn to the ascendant, or take the ascendant and arc it to Saturn, take the Mars and conversely arc it to the midheaven, or the midheaven directed to Mars, and then that Pluto directed to his seventh house cusp. What we'll see is by the time he was 30, 32, and 33, there was actually something taking place at that time, right? That could have ultimately dealt with some delay in probably his finances, some transformation in how he relates to others and what's being produced in his life, as well as how active his career has been. Maybe there was some things that could have been seemingly delayed and or destructive pertaining to his public standing, his finances, and how he relates to others, while looking at the solar arc of Mars, either conversely to the midheaven or midheaven directed to Mars, or Saturn conversely directed to the ascendant, or the ascendant directed to Saturn, and then Pluto directed to that seventh house cusp. That they all have this kind of 30, 32, 33 energy going, mainly 30 and 32 energy, almost 33 when it comes to the midheaven and Mars, right? It's just shy about 18 days, right, from his 33rd solar return. So it would be interesting once we bring up, maybe looking at a timeline is, taking it with a grain of salt, because we'll probably be looking at Wikipedia or other articles, which we have to take with a grain of salt, because it's not like we're speaking directly to Snoop, right now. He can tell us what happened at age 30 and 32 up to 33, how was that, really transformational when it came to his finances, his career, and how he relates to others, maybe even his family. Maybe that's when he finally settled down and was like, I'm just gonna, tie the knot with my loved one. We don't know, but it would be good to find out. I will say also, it's very interesting how Snoop's kind of how it's publicized out there that he was able to get a second chance after, getting financial advice. Back to finances again, right? Second house, back to transforming his daily routine, maybe even how he went about his finances. There's Pluto and the sudden changes. There's Uranus pertaining to his ego and personality, going from Snoop Dogg to Snoop Lion, right? Because Leo is ruled by the sun. Very interesting to see that sextiling the sign Leo there. Also sextiling, what's that in Leo? What's that particular fixed star ALP? Let me double check real quick for 2016. It's Alphecca.
Alphecca, yeah.
It's Alphecca. Okay, cool. Just wanted to double check and make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me doubly check on that. Oh, Alphard. It's Alphard. Yeah, it's the brightest star in the constellation Hydra. So it's Alpha Hydrae, often called the heart of the Hydra, right? Or heart of like the big dragon, right? It has a nature of Saturn and Venus. Very interesting. Saturn here in this chart is the most malefic, so to speak. So Saturn in the second house in Gemini should probably show that some areas of struggle will be in both his 10th and 11th house areas as far as Saturn, Capricorn and Aquarius is concerned. But in the whole sign house, it would be his 9th and 10th houses, where Saturn in the second whole sign would probably, be the dispositor for some things that may be a little challenging for him. So it could have been some things challenging for higher learning and or long distance travel, his career, as well as how he's able to share amongst the group or activities with the group may have presented some challenges by that Saturn there. Because Saturn then would be sort of kind of the final dispositor, sort of, for Mars's activities over the seventh house, but Mercury there under Mars's dispositorship. So it's like, hey, Mercury can do what it does based on Mars. Mars can do what it does based on Saturn traditionally. But we will also have to look to Uranus, which Mercury would be under too, because Mercury rules both his 6th and 2nd and 3rd houses here in this Placidus chart. In whole sign, it would just be the 2nd and 5th. Alrighty, for Mercury. And Mercury there in Scorpio would have to really share dispositorship some way, shape, or form in finality with kind of with Saturn, sort of, kind of with Saturn and Uranus. But I think Mercury there in Scorpio has the final say so at the Leo degree, which makes it so interesting because he called, right? It's another meaning of communication. Mercury would be a calling, so to speak. Mercury there at 5 degrees, which is a Leo degree, new calling of how to relate to the people. Snoop Lion, right? At that one point in time when it would be, when that would have been or is a way of changing his nom de plume, right? His pen name or stage name. So I think that's highly interesting to see that at the end of the day, that even the most malefic planet in the second house, I think still had an opportunity to make some maybe difficult to get used to, but some very effective changes in how he went about his everyday work, got the values that were needed from, the public or the public opinion and how they saw that in the death and rebirth, possibly, if we were to kind of look at in a sextile relationship to Scorpio, Capricorn being, Capricorn degree being 22 degrees with Mars there, it would just really say, hey, like maybe there's this death and rebirth. Maybe it's an opportunity for, Snoop to be in this, trying to be this caterpillar that goes into his chrysalis to be able to, grow into this butterfly called Snoop Lion, while also at the same time coming across Master P, Percy Master P Miller, who gave him this new life in looking at his career and things of that nature. And I really think that that is signified by that Saturn there. All righty. Which is very interesting for me too, because I'm thinking too, if we were to direct that Saturn though to the next angle instead of the first house, direct that Saturn to the fourth house, I think what we would get is a 30 plus 17 almost kind of energy if we went to 5. But so let's see. 5 degrees, 5 degrees Gemini, 37 minutes, to 5 degrees Cancer, 37 minutes. That's 30 years. All righty. So once you take those 30 degrees and look, okay, now we're at Snoop's age 30. Now let's go from 5 degrees, 37 minutes in Cancer to about 18 degrees, 35 minutes in Cancer. Let's add another 13 years there. So now we're at 43 years old, which would take us about maybe 8 years ago into his life, almost 9 years ago into his life. And now we need to check when he had that, if we could find an article on when Snoop Dogg had that meeting or that, that conversation with Master P. Because I really think that Saturn in the second house will speak to some, not just the delay, but maybe some growth and comprehension pertaining to better structure, Saturn, and having a conversation and it being communicated, Gemini, about finances, second house. And I really think that made a change in how he went about his career, because the fourth house would be how he would handle his property, do things with his family, maybe be able to set roots better for himself. And it's able to be reflective of what he's able to do with his career based off of the communication that he had with a quote unquote master. Saturn could also be looked at like a master, right along with Jupiter. Because actually, let's just be honest, Jupiter is the most strongest planet in his chart, has the most dignity, right? It's there in the 8th house. Technically, it is reflecting that Saturn. So it lets me know that, Snoop was able to take some higher education, Sagittarius, from someone else's values and pair it up, right? So he was able to partner his values with someone else's values, let's say for that moment, Master P, and being able to take that and be able to further expand how he went about communicating who he is amongst the public, with the 8th house being 3 houses away from the 10th, which would make it the 11th house to the 10th. So now he's able not only make sudden changes, but able to take how he's actually merging his energy with someone else's knowledge, right? And be able to now take what was shared with him as far as terms of education, in terms of his, higher learning, in terms of his career, and make the changes necessary. Reinventing himself becomes no problem now. He's able to also pair his means of getting more finances by being with someone older and reflecting 180 degrees, or called the opposition in growing, Jupiter with someone older, Saturn, Martha Stewart. Let's just call it what it is, right? And I know it seems like I'm cherry picking, right, information. However, I think a lot of these things make sense when we really take a look at it. and really see what it is. Then with that fourth house perfection that he's going through at 51 years old, right? 48 is 1, 49 is 2, 50 is 3, and 51 is fourth house perfection. Then we also know when it comes to his Fedaria, very interesting. I think he's in a Venus Fedaria, Venus Moon Fedaria. So it also lets me know when it comes to the seventh house, this could be a time in his life also up till about, I think, March of 2024. If I'm not mistaken, when it comes to the Fedaria for Snoop, he could have, quote unquote, renewed his vows if he didn't partake in a certain divorce or something like that. I think here you'll probably see some reinstituting pertaining to relationships with as far as his consort is concerned, with both Venus and Moon being triplicity rulers in his chart here, right? Mars being the first, Venus being the second, and Moon being the third triplicity ruler. And for him to be in the Fedaria, which is a planetary period moment by, timing techniques for planet-based timing technique, for Snoop to actually just really show how he's further securing his relationship, further doing the things that may not be seen as behind the scenes. However, he's making all the efforts to make sure that things are secure as far as, his relationship is concerned, probably even catering even more to his consort, not only maybe renewing quote unquote vows, but maybe doing a little more cooking, maybe finding ways of being a lot more helpful around the home, as well as being able to further communicate some plans and some ideas that he would like that would probably seem to not just be exciting for him, but put the things that she enjoys actually in the forefront and put those things forward, where he may actually invest in some business of hers that she's interested in also, right? With Venus and Moon, Moon's ruling over his fourth house cusp. That will be his whole sign third. So definitely communicating to the mother, definite ways of how to relate to bring things better for the status between he and her. Venus ruling over his ascendant, of course, as well as his, because Venus is co-ruling along with Mercury, right? So look at that when it comes to the sixth house, but it would be, Libra would be his whole sign sixth. So I think here, what could be thoroughly communicated, 3, 4, 5, 6, because 3 and 6 would technically be 4 houses away. Those are Vacant houses. I think what will be shown too is a way of being able to transition energy into something else. While, and what is he doing that with? He's utilizing lessons that were learned, that he learned from both, I'm thinking mainly, even though there's probably other influences, but probably some things that he's learned from Percy Miller, Percy Master P. Miller and Martha G. Code Stewart. No, I'm just saying, like, I think that's everybody's got like a stage name right in between their nom de guerre. So I was like, why don't I just call him Martha G. Code Stewart, right? But I think that's what I see there, right? I know when it comes to the Zodiacal releasing, I think he's on like a Cancer, Capricorn, Sag, Taurus. If I remember that correctly, I don't know if I'm remembering properly. I could look to the Hellenistic Time Lords, but I think he's on a I think it's Cancer, Capricorn, Sag, Taurus right now, to be completely honest with you. Let us see. Cancer, Capricorn, Sag, and Taurus. I'm exactly correct, because he just on the level 4 period just went into level 4 Taurus period for his, we're looking at, if I'm not mistaken, I think we're looking at the part of his fortune. So when it comes to his health, right? If we were to speak on Snoop Dogg's health, we'll go in on the career next. But if we were to look at Snoop Dogg's health right now, I'm really thinking that he's finding better ways to, find better ways of relaxing his mind, maybe even disciplining, himself by maybe trying to sit still a little more. Or he's actually ready to kind of like tour because of that Sagittarius there, move around a little more. Maybe he's getting interested in taking some other classes, while also at the same time looking to really find a means to do some better investments. Like where can he invest his energy? How can he be able to diversify his portfolio? And that could be tied into the Fedaria planetary timing that he has this Venus Mars planetary periods that are going on. All right. I think I got that correct too, as far as those, because I only glanced at these things for him, but I trust that his Fedaria is Venus Mars at this moment. So as I go double check, Venus Moon. So yeah, it's Venus Moon, as I said earlier. So yeah, it's Venus on the primary or the main period. And the sub period, it's Moon. So boom, 7th house activation, sort of, especially with this being a nocturnal chart. Of course, like we said, Mars traditionally been having a dispositor for the 11th house, right? So Mars is a guest in the house traditionally ruled by Saturn there in the 6th, being under the dispositorship of Mercury in the 7th. So it's like, hey, back to the 7th again. So there's like this trio of exchange energy, which is very interesting because can't we say that there's this inconjunction between Saturn and Mercury, to be very honest with you? An inconjunction is like a trine plus 30. So it's 150 degrees, which means it was a perfect, free flowing, but then there's just this extra that could make it like, it was just perfect. But for some reason you wanted to put sprinkles on top of the cherry, on top of the whipped cream. It's a little overkill, but it's all good. That would probably even explain why things happen like Snoop lying, because maybe it's something that's fully comprehended internally within Calvin Broadus himself, while making those artistic changes to how he's presenting himself as far as a nom de plume or stage name. And however, as it's seen publicly, the people as they're relating to that, like, what is that? You know what I mean? Why? But there's a obviously good reason within him and the values that he sees within himself. And it seems like it could bring some delay. Maybe the people aren't getting used to it, or maybe the fact that there's this level of longevity and seniority is just like, hey, look, man, it's Snoop. People are just gonna go with it. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I guess, bro, we can kind of maybe look to some other things, I guess. Is it possible?
Yeah.
Look to some other thing.
What are you trying to look at next?
I'm guessing how true some of these timing things we were talking about. Do you want to go and knock it out with some, I don't know, see what articles we can find? Like what happened? Like, I'm really curious between the ages of 30 and 33. I really want to know what happened there. And I'm curious about the age 43 also. Between 43 and 44 years of age.
About a 19, roughly about a 19.
Hmm?
I said about 19 years of age as well. So I'm curious about that. All right, so let's see. All right, 1992, it would have been about 21 is when he featured on Dr. Dre's debut solo single Deep Cover, and also on the solo album, The Chronic. Let's see. Let's see, his debut was November 1993. All right, so it's 20.
I had to make edits. It's Cordozar. I had Cordozar. So
Cordozar, gotcha.
Yeah, Cordozar. Okay, go ahead. I yield.
Okay, January 1998, Broadus or Snoop Dogg, he signed with No Limit. So that would have been.
Hold on, when was that?
About January 1998.
Oh, it's time out. Okay, so that would give us the age 27.
Let's see, 20.
That's interesting. 20. That is interesting. Let's go back to his chart real quick. I want to see if I see that. because I got a feeling that's going to be in the seventh house somewhere. I wonder if that's in the seventh house. I wonder if that's that Jupiter. No, it's no. What would be the mark of 27 in his chart? That's real interesting, bro. That is interesting. Because it made me think like, contract, right? And this is the thing about people's charts, right? Even though it said, hey, you know, it was birth certificate in hand for the time, but you know, even when people give us so-called birth certificate times, we're like, let's rectify it. You know what's funny? Then that makes me think that he was manifested maybe a bit earlier because, or no, let me see. No, it could be earlier because I was saying even if it was later, then that means we would have to solar arc forward if it was later. You know what I mean? But I just think, you know, when they do those so-called birth certificate times, man, I promise you that they're like rounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he could have manifested at like, okay, if we know from the midheaven to Mars is roughly 32 years old, take away 18 days, 32 years, 11 months, and 12 days old, let's say. So to get it down to 27, we would have to subtract like 5 years, 11 months, roughly, right? 5 years, 11 months, and 12 days. We would roughly have to subtract that. And in order to get that roughly, we would probably be anywhere between, you know, 10 to 12 minutes further into it, where it's like, what if he was really manifested at like 1832 and somebody's like, oh, it was around 1820 when we started pushing. That's when the head came out, but his whole body didn't come out till 12 minutes later. Like, what if that's the case? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, you know, we could rectify that and maybe see, okay, hey, boom, there it is. Mars is now 27 degrees away from the midheaven. Boom, then we have that. That's a possibility. In terms of contracting, if we looked at seventh house in terms of contracting and there being a sudden change there, then that means, okay, now will we go backwards then and adjust the chart so that instead of Pluto being a mark of 30 years, 1 month and 12 days, because 0 degrees 34 minutes in Libra till about 0 degrees 46 minutes in Scorpio would yield 30 years, 1 month and 12 days, because 46 minus 34 gives you 12. 12 times 6 gets me 72. All righty. And 72, pardon me, that's 2 months and 12 days. Let me correct myself. So 30 years, 2 months and 12 days. So we need to now take away the like 3 years, 2 months and 12 days. And roughly that would give us what? Anywhere between 12 to possibly 14 minutes that we would subtract. And now we're like, okay, maybe he manifested instead of 1820, we're looking at about 1807. Do you know what I mean, bro? And then it's like, okay, boom, now we have that 27 for that Pluto sudden transformation in contracting to the seventh house. These are the possibilities. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of what I'm looking at. That's why I'm like, that's interesting. What if we rectify this chart ourselves just based off of that? But we already know you can't just take one piece of information like that. I mean, but that's one thing I would look at, and any other astrologer that views this, and I'm pretty sure they'll have their opinions because, you know, people that call themselves astrologers, even though they're not Moorish American, you know, which means they're not in complete harmony with nature, honoring their ancient foremothers and forefathers, you know, in my opinion, they're just astro enthusiasts. They're not actual astrologers. However, you know, we have Albion sons and daughters that think they're an authority on astrology because I've been doing this for 40 years and 50 years. Give yourself a cookie. At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure they would have an opinion maybe about one, my presentation and what I'm saying right now, but even two, the fact of what I said about rectifying the chart the way I did. But, you know, get in line. So with that being said, bro, we can go back to the Wikipedia. I yield.
All right, let's see. Let's see, 2002, looks like he signed with Priority Records, released the album. 2004, he signed to Geffen Records, where he released his next 3
Interesting.
albums.
Really?
So when you
Really?
was talking about that 32 to 33 mark,
Yes.
yeah.
That would be that 2002 where he signed with Priority Capital EMI. And then 2004 being signed to Geffen. Like, look at that. Releasing his next 3 albums, RNG. Makes sense to me. That's why I said I want, and I still kind of stand by that if we were to use 1820 as the time that he manifested, because it's like, bro, what happened then? Okay, boom, there it is, 2004. You know what I mean? Just by bare minimum solar arc direction type stuff, right? Just as like giving it a brief calculation without, doing anything that seems too complicated, too hard. Well, for those of us that are really good at solar arc direction, you know what I mean? A lot of people out there like, what's solar arc direction? I've never heard of that. But I mean, for those of us that know that this is a part of our, practice all the time, every day when we're interacting with with many different sentient beings and doing astrology is like necessary to make sure that takes place. Okay, well, I yield, bro. Go ahead. I yield. Islam.
So let's see, what else can we get? 2012.
43. We're also looking for 43. Not to cut your wisdom. 43 would put us at 2014, roughly. 13.
Yeah, about 2013, 14. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I want to know, what happened then too around that time between 2013 and 2015. Is that there?
Let's see.
I think I see it.
Is that Snoop? So around that 2013, yeah, he did that Snoop Lion change. It says he released a reggae album that was in 2012 after a trip, and then he did a documentary film of the same thing in early 2013.
Wow. Amazing.
He did a gospel album.
Amazing.
In 2018, Snoop announced that he was a born-again Christian, released his first gospel album, Bible of Love.
Interessante.
2022, he acquired.
So hold on, time out. What year would that be for him? That would be age 47 in 2018. And that's interesting. That's a 12th house perfection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Born again Christian, and then an album, right? 2018, if I'm not mistaken, that puts him at 47, right? So let's see. Let's go back to the chart. Let's see if we see something like dealing with 47. I'm interested in seeing if we can see that also. Mars. Right? I'm looking to Mars first, bro. Like, so looking to Mars first. Because 47 is a semi-square, right? Just 2 degrees past the semi-square. And so is there anything semi-square in this chart? Boom, right there already. But it's kind of a tight semi-square. Pluto and Moon are semi-square, bro, in his chart. The only other thing that may be semi-square is Jupiter and Lilith. It's looking like. Let me see if I see anything else. Okay, well, that's Ceres and White Moon Selene. I'm looking for more major things to show semi-square. Look at that, Neptune and Uranus. There's a semi-square for you, right? which would make it a sudden change in sudden change Uranus in how he's instituting spirituality, Neptune. There it is. And it's like applying. It's applying 1 degree, 48 minutes. So that could speak to that if we just solar arc instead of just by angles, just the planet to another planet. And as Neptune is in his 7th house, so it's changing how he's relating to the quote unquote public or to his peers, because the Uranus is in the 6th house in his chart with the Neptune there in the 7th. And they're at a perfect, because we know if we look for that 47 degrees is just 2 degrees more than a semi-square. Let's see what semi-square in his chart and then direct them to each other, either direct or conversely. And so, yeah, I'm seeing that definitely it's more closer with the Neptune and Uranus than it would be the moon and Pluto, even though there will be some relation there. So maybe the moon and Pluto is where maybe it was some cooking up of that. And then it's solidified about the time that Uranus could be looked at as being solar arced to his Neptune, right? Roughly around 2018. So that makes complete sense, right? All right, bro, I yield. You can go back to the Wikipedia. Very interesting.
What about that? Let's see, 26, maybe that's Sun to Jupiter. Let's see, 47. Let's see, that'd be 30, would be 26. Scorpio, 34.
Plus like another
not
10.
Quite, yeah.
Yeah, because I would put it at 40. I would put it at 40 as far as the Jupiter. Yeah, but it's just, that's why I said, all we got to do is just go and look at the aspects. Let's look at the aspects and see how far they are away. You know what I mean? And like I said, they only had about 3 semi-squares. But when it came to major planets, it was like Pluto and Moon, and they were applying like 0 degrees in some minutes. And then when it came to Uranus and Neptune, it was like 1 degree in some minutes, which would be much closer to that time, considering the orb from it being exact. But I mean, it's all good, bro. I yield.
Gotcha. All right, let's come back here. 2022, he acquired Death Row Records from MNRK Music Group, formerly known as A1 Music.
Look at that, bro. That would make him 51.
51
right?
in that 4th house perfection. Yeah. I'm going through the 4th.
So hold on. What's this? 2023? And I said he'll be 52 this year. Didn't I say that?
2. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was correct.
He'll be in that 5th house perfection. Yeah.
So that's it too, man. That's it. Also, that's interesting, bro. That 4th house perfection right there, which shows a change in status. There's a status change because that's 4th house perfection. You already know it's going to be reflective of the 10th house also. So that makes so much sense, bro. I yield.
And with that moon in Scorpio too in the 7th, yeah.
Ruling over his 4th house, right? His 4th house Placidus, right? Interesting.
All right, so let's see. Early life. More singer. Let's see. His name. Oh, so he was named after his stepfather. Interesting.
Wow. Whoa, well, let's read that. Calvin Cordozar Broadus Jr. was born October 20th. That's why I said, man, we don't even know if these people are who we think they are by what's publicized, or even if it's the actual time they manifested. But let's see what we can see and see if it lines up. Near Long Beach Corporation, California State Republic, to Vernell Renato and Beverly Tate. Vernell, who was a Vietnam War veteran singer and mail carrier, left the family only 3 months after his birth, and thus he was named after his stepfather, Calvin Cordozar Broadus Sr. Interessante. His father remained largely absent from his life as a boy. His mother nicknamed him Snoopy due to his love and the likeness of the cartoon character from Peanuts. He was the second of his mother's three sons. Look at that. Middle child Nick. His mother and stepfather divorced in 1975. When Broadus was very young, he began singing and playing. You know what's so funny though? I'm not surprised because that's Mercury in Scorpio, bro. Do you get what I'm saying? Because he would have been called one thing, but there's something that happened behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? And then it made his mom call him something else. And his moon is completely in the seventh house. How many degrees is the moon? His moon was at 15. So that's 10 degrees away. Okay, I just wanted to just kind of think about that. Leo, fifth house, 5 degrees for, so 5 degrees is the Leo degree for that Mercury and Scorpio. 15 degrees is Gemini degree. So it just kind of, that just just lets me know that his mom would call him. So I wonder if his mom's a Leo. I really wonder. Or if she's a Gemini. But anyway, I yield, bro. Let's see. He was the second. Right. When Broadus was very young, he began singing and playing piano at Golgotha Trinity Baptist Church. It's funny. Golgotha in if you know the metaphysics, then you can go beyond just the dogma belief system that's put on the people that lack the metaphysics and are in desperate need of the metaphysics, so they're not stuck in believer land. However, Golgotha is where Goliath's skull is buried. When after David goes to the brook and gets 5 smooth stones and misses with the first stone that he throws out of his sling, which is love. And then he throws truth at the giant, right? The giant ideal within man that thinks he doesn't need his higher self, but hits it with truth. It penetrates the pineal gland of Goliath, and then he takes Goliath's own sword, his own words, and decapitates Goliath, right? After penetrating his pineal gland with the second stone thrown from his sling, and then buries it at Calvary, known as Golgotha, which is the same place where the anthropomorphic Jesus was crucified, right above the skull, to kind of tie in with what's actually being said, which is more of the details astromasonically, that the heel of man will crush the serpent's head, or the heel of the son of man will crush the serpent's head. So, when you really grow out of immature believer thinking and really get into the metaphysics, you can see these things clearly without having to be initiated under some oath of death in some lodge somewhere. You can actually study with sincere brothers like us just by seeing what it is we present freely on YouTube, and then be able to gain the degrees that you need necessary without having to give dues to someone who don't even make the craft important for you to actually be able to help yourself, civilize yourself and your loved ones, provided this knowledge is utilized and processed appropriately. In the 6th grade, he began rapping. As a child, Broadus sold candy. That's interesting, right? Delivered newspapers. And that's interesting because he has the Saturn in Gemini, right? So I can see that in the 2nd house, right? So something that was stable, structured, communication is newspapers, right? So I can see that, enthusiastic churchgoer, active in choir and football, right? Which is very interesting. Broadus said in 1993, which would make him 22 years old then, that he began engaging in unlawful activities, right? Okay, all righty, in unlawful activities, and joining gangs in his teenage years, despite his mother's preventative efforts. Okay, cool. So just wanted to just kind of look at that first one. You guys can do your own homework and research further, see what it is that we said there, right? And what it is that we went over. So I'm just curious just to see how we did there, right? Do we have questions, comments, and/or suggestions? Bro, what do you want to add? I know I did a lot of talking there. Is there something you want to add, bro?
I ain't seen nothing for that 19, but What was we just reading when we was speaking before we hopped on about the yacht? Man.
Oh yeah. And it was, I went and double checked the aspects. It was Pluto, Neptune. It wasn't Uranus. It was Pluto, Neptune, and the ascendant. Most definitely.
So yeah, you definitely, because if we even go back to the chart, so Pluto in the 6th, that Neptune in the 7th, and that ascendant, and it's super duper tight with that Neptune being at 1 degree, it's an Arian, and then the other two at a truest expression. Yeah, he definitely could easily, transform the service and then see, that was what 1990, what 3, I think, when it said he started getting that trouble. Would have been in that 11th house perfection year, being ruled by
Saturn, the most malefic planet in his chart. Right. That's right. Go ahead, I yield.
13, and then if we even just added 22 degrees just to that Saturn, and it made it like 27 Gemini. So that would have been a Gemini degree. So friends and local community. So yeah, I definitely can add some sense to make that. Yeah, definitely a potential with that, having that yacht with Pluto, Neptune, and that ascendant. And it seems like he was definitely able to grasp and do that. And then we were speaking on a Zodiacal, which, and let's see, 1999, May 26, he started that level 1 Cancer period. Which he's still in. He won't be out of that till January 15th of 2024. So he's still in that peak period on level 1 for Cancer. With that Scorpio moon, yo. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think, when did he beat that? I think that was like 95 through 96. So that was a peak on the level 2 for Aries. So Aries have been rolling over that. For that, so should come back and let's come back to that Safari. 98 to 96. Wait, really say 9 on that part. Let's see. Oh, he got married in 97. Remember I think you might have said that he got married early. And let's see, they renewed their vows. That was 2008. Wonder if they did it again.
And I said the renewing of vows. I said that kind of like right now, which is interesting. But you said 97. That would make him 26.
26, yeah.
Did I say something about that? Did I say something about timing out at 26? That'll be interesting. I might not have said that. I might have said 30 something. I might have. But that would be interesting. What would be 26 degrees away from his 7th house cusp? Well, his 7th house ruler is, see, again, that's Mars. That's why I said there's adjustments that could possibly be made, man, to really see that, you know what I mean? Or, 22 degrees, 17 plus 8 gets me what? You know what I'm saying? So that's, technically That kind of fits almost. It's kind of like 25, man. That's pretty close because I'm just arcing Mars to his 12th house cusp, right? That would be the ruler of his 7th house, right? Pertaining to commitment, arcing, a house that's ruled by Jupiter, the strongest planet in his chart, where he's merging the relationship values, right? Because Jupiter's in the 8th house, ruling over that 12th house, along with Neptune, which is pretty conjunct that Jupiter, even though Neptune's in the 7th, dealing with the institution pertaining to commitment. And maybe that all took place in a church, right? Where, again, there's some co-rulership along with Jupiter and Neptune with Mars, and then Mars under dispositorship of Saturn, and Saturn being under dispositorship of Mercury, which is also in the 7th house. So maybe that Mars solar arcing that 12th house cusp may be a bit of an evidence of that if we were to look at it that way. Some people will probably say, oh, you're stretching. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a very strong possibility that that's freaking spot on what I'm saying, actually. Hey, it is what it is. I yield, bro.
Yeah, I'm definitely like agreeing with it could be like a rectification done.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That's why I'm thinking could be because I mean the areas in which I'm speaking on and the different things that we did just off for solar arcing, and I mean even what you just brought up about 11th house perfection. You know what I'm saying? When you're like, well, okay, well, if he was 19, you know what I mean? Is that what you said? Was it 22?
22, yeah, 22.
Is an 11th house perfection, and an 11th house has the least malefic planet in it, rolling his 7th house, but it's under the dispositorship of the most malefic planet, right? And it's funny because he joined gangs. Gangs is 11th house because it's groups, social groups, right? So a malefic, because you have the most malefic, Saturn, right? In Gemini, that would be the neighborhood, some neighborhood brotherhood type of energy, right? And the values pertaining to that neighborhood brotherhood, right? Saturn, most malefic planet in his nocturnal chart, right? Ruling over the least malefic planet, Mars, in the 11th house, right? So yeah, that makes all the sense in the world, man. All the sense in the world that is an 11th type of 11th house perfection that he's, even like I said, even if we did adjustments in either direction, even though if we went backwards, of course, that would put his ascendant in Mars. I mean, in Aries, ruled by Mars, instead of, it being Taurus ascendant. So if we went forward, right, then we would be looking at some things a little different, but it was still, if we move forward, to keep Saturn in his 2nd whole sign house, ultimately, right? But I yield, bro. Good stuff.
Indeed. Bring us back. Boom.
Indeed, man. Indeed. So this is great to look at. Like, seriously, bro. So it's like, this is really good to look at. But questions, comments, and or suggestions, bro.
That was beautiful. I might have to maybe mess around with a couple times and maybe look at a few more things. But yeah. I definitely think everything was spot on with how we looked, with the solar arcs. I know if we even decided, to do like some primary directions, or if we didn't even like get to like harmonics, the solar return, or none of those other charts, which was interesting because I think his solar return, he would have had.
Let's look at it. Let
me actually hit that.
Let's look at the solar return.
I think his
what's on the rise.
Let me Next, boom. 2023. Let's see what's on the rise. Is Scorpio.
Really, his 7th house cusp. And I just said something about that when it came to his Daria having a Venus, a main period being Venus and the sub period being Moon, bro, which is in his 7th house. That is interessante. Conjunct his Moon.
So now that's making me even think, like, when you were speaking on those vows, like he had that in like 2000, was like 8, I think, 2004, 2008. Yeah. But maybe now there's going to be something else according to that. It's interesting. Yes. And then,
15 years later. Go ahead. You go.
Right, with that, when that is just exactly 1 minute. Well, yeah, that's exact, because Zemi at 17 minutes with that Sun and Mercury, like just barely in there, and with an eclipse in the node, the south node.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Oh my.
Are you serious? Where's the Moon in that chart, bro?
In Capricorn right here.
That is an eclipse cooking, bro. That is, because by the time that Moon hits Aries, well, actually, let me think about that. It's in Capricorn. So Capricorn to Aquarius. So that's about 3 days, bro. No, so hold on. Time out. When did we, for Intuition Monday, say their full moon in Aries was going to be? And is it at 29 degrees, like 28, 29 degrees?
Let's see. I think it was like the 29th, 30th.
And are we looking at a solar eclipse then? I mean, a lunar eclipse at that time? That's pretty interesting.
Actually,
I'm opening up Matrix also on my computer because I want to see
the 29th. Let's see where this is gonna be. It's gonna be at 6. It's gonna be at 6 degrees. I don't know, but it's definitely
So on the 28th, bro. But that's happening though where's the North Node? Okay, it's at 6 degrees. So, okay, so that's nowhere near his solar return. That's looking like 20 days before his solar return of full moon. So, but the South Node, that was definitely almost, because if the next full moon is happening at 5 degrees Taurus 9 minutes, then that's outside of the range. Because I think once it gets a little past 10 degrees, it's no longer like eclipse energy, but that's really close, bro. Can you give me a chart on the full moon in Taurus?
Mm-hmm.
It's happening at 5 degrees 9 minutes Taurus, roughly. Can we see that? I don't know, bro. That's kind of eclipse-ish for me.
Oh wow, but it's gonna be 36 minutes off his Mars. That full moon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's his solar return. But that will be hitting his Mercury though.
So check it out. On his solar return, Mars is conjunct his natal Mercury, and then the Sun is conjunct his solar return Mars and natal Mercury on the day of the full moon when the Sun is in Scorpio. I think we're going to want to see what's up with Snoop, leading from, like, literally, it would be wild if they say that either Snoop is adopting another child or he's about to be a grandfather or something. Like, it's got to be something.
Bro, I had that thought earlier. I was like, is he about to have manifest a child or something like that? Now you saying that?
Yeah, because isn't his wife named Shantae? Like, is Shantae at the age she is? Maybe she's been taking herbs. She's vegan. She's taking care of her body. She's with child again, or are they about to adopt the child, or are they about to become grandparents? Like, that's what I'm looking at. You guys let us know. Do you guys see that happening? Not just right now. Just let me know. What if we see something happen? Maybe it's a theme for that year, because that solar return is for what could happen throughout the whole year, from the time he turns 52 till about the time he turns 53. Let's see what happens within that next 12 months or so. Does he become a grandfather or something? Or does he adopt a child or something like that? Because to even see that configuration with the sun on the full moon, which is on the outermost wheel, is conjunct his solar return Mars position, which is conjunct his natal Mercury. Like, what? Like, bro. It's amazing. With his
he's
solar
about to
return,
have a Jupiter return, man.
And he's about to have hold on. Is he? Is he?
Let's see. It's like Jupiter being retrograde, then it should go back. No. Let's
he's
see.
past
Whenever
it at
Jupiter,
48. It was when he was 48, if I'm not mistaken. Where is it?
Let's see. And
okay, I see what you're saying there. I see what you're saying. But his natal Jupiter, I think, is in his natal 8th. So yeah, but I get what you're saying as far as
on that solar return chart.
Yeah.
Should be gonna swing back by that.
Yeah, because Jupiter's retrograde until, let's see, let's look at the standards and let's look at the retrograde periods. Jupiter is stationed direct on the
30th.
Hold on, the 4th September, it went stationed direct, didn't it? Oh no, it went station retrograde, on the 4th. It goes direct, you're right, on December 30th. It is direct at 5 degrees Taurus, 35 minutes, so right around where the full moon is.
More.
Right? And then it leaves its retrograde zone on the 23rd March, 2024. Because the retrograde zone is between 5 degrees 35 minutes Taurus and 15 degrees 35 minutes Taurus. So yeah, man, that's very interesting to see that. And I guess what we could say then, hey, what the heck does that mean? Well, it just goes to show, when it comes to his first house, there's some self-expansion happening. That's why I'm thinking, man, like with the 5th house perfection that's happening, with us seeing how his 7th house is activated for the solar return. This is letting me know that there's something where he's expanding himself and his status. And I think it's in terms of being a grandfather, or adopting another child, or taking care of other children some kind of way. Even if it's not publicized like a major story, I think we'll get a glimpse of it some kind of way. And I think we should just, if you come across it, let us know. You come across it, come back to this video, type in the comments, hey man, this is what happened with Snoop. Like, oh, okay, cool. It's not that we care, like, oh my God, we need to find out, our life depends on it. But what we're saying is just like, we're looking at astrology and we're seeing how astrology moves, right? So then Mars is dominant Scorpio too. So if we was the whole sign house this, like Mars would be in his solar return, his solar returns whole sign first house, ruling over the first, even though this, Placidus, it would be the Placidus 12th where Mars would be. But man, I just really think that there's some communication that he's going to get, man. Like, seriously. And it's going to be about children, bro, because he's going to be in a 5th house perfection with Mars at the 5th house with Mars at 5 degrees within his 7th natal, but his first whole sign solar return, but 12th Placidus. So yeah, man, I got something popping up there. There's something definitely popping up, unless it's something horrible, like, oh, Snoop Dogg's son got in trouble and he got to bail his son out of jail or some crap. Like that would suck. But I think it's going to be something about children and possibly hospitals. You know what I mean? That's why I'm hoping or Snoop announcing he's going to like open up like a midwifery school or something, or he's going to be involved in, you know, sending women to school to be able to become like midwives or something. I mean, that's kind of what I see, but I'm going to stick with something with children. The first thing that I did think of was like, man, is him and Shantae doing something with children, whether they're adopting or they want to be grandparents or something like that. So you guys just let us know. Any other questions, comments, and or suggestions, bro?
That'd be interesting. Like, or if one of his sons got like a foreign mother pregnant, so they had to go to like a foreign country, quote unquote, for that. But I guess we'll see. Time will show.
Indeed. Yeah, because you know, bro, when we do what we do, 9 times out of 10 it comes to fruition. If not like 12 times out of 10. Like usually what we say, it comes to fruition, bro. Like it really, really does. So questions, comments, and or suggestions going Twizzers, right? Thank you to the 3 beings that popped up live. We're not embarrassed. You're here. You know, we got live, so we had things due for our loved ones throughout the day. So, you know, if you think this live happened late, it is what it is. It happened. What's this, like video 408, 409?
I mean,
like,
it's early somewhere else.
Yeah, I know, right? Like super early, right? So with that being said, questions, comments, and or suggestions going Thursdays. This is where I and our beloved brother, whom we're well pleased, Brother Sean William L, say be yourselves and donate, guys. You will see in the description very soon when I go to edit the description. If you don't see it right now, you want to go and donate right now. Remember 720 Astro Healing on the CashApp. Of course, you're going to put the Caduceus symbol, or what they call the $, for 720 Astro Healing to donate to Brother Sean Lee Mel, and put that Caduceus symbol or $, for our Astrology Street to donate to 7 Heal Star, right? So for Brother Sean, it's 720 Astro Healing, and for 7 Heal Star, it is our Astrology Street. All right, guys. So thank you all for joining us. This is where I and our beloved brother, whom we well pleased, Brother Sean Lee Mel, say rest and recharge well. And we will see ye all next day at Lawful Living if you're going to come into, because remember, it's Newbie Tuesday, right? So Newbie Tuesday for Friends in Law Bible Study. Come and ask your Newbie Tuesday questions, all right? Don't be embarrassed, whatever you're dealing with as far as jurisprudence, law, right? Come on in and see what you can learn to be able to be effective in your life, to keep people from trying to use statutes, codes, and policies against you, and it doesn't even pertain to you, honestly. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll see you guys again for some more astrology for the 7-day Tropic Medical Astro Weather Report. This is where I and our beloved brother, Sean Lee Mel, we say good night to you all, right? Have a great rest and recharge. We love you all. Namaste. 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 Islam, 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 y'all. Peace and love.